It's time for another episode of mild stage fright and anxiety and lack of preparedness versus purpose driven faith. What an odd time to be waking up. It is approximately 1:20 a.m. Central Time. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever it is, wherever you are. Welcome back to the Lost Begotten channel. And I'm going to be broadcasting probably a decent bit in the next 48 hours or so before Thanksgiving. Um, because there's a whole lot of stuff I want to talk about. And I can't think of any of it right now. Can't. I'm not even trying to yet. Because I am being obstructed from coffee by a kitten. I don't know what to do. I need more coffee. But the kitten, this cute little terrifying shit. I'm starting to wonder about well, speaking of amateur shit, let me be an amateur right quick. Let me be an amateur biologist. Um, Starting to wonder what the hell the wild cat breed is that used to be around here that's kind of interbred with domestic cats, and it seems like whatever it is, it's probably extinct, but has hybridized on several levels. Um, but there's this cat that can kick Simba's ass basically. And Simba's a big fucking cat, and it's got a very bobcat-like pattern to it. It's got a very bobcat-like face. Um, and it's got round eyes. Not vertical slit eyes like a cat normally does. It's got eyes that make it look like a monkey or a lemur or something, you know? And this little guy has mostly, like, they slit up a little bit when they're really small, but they only slit up about yay much. They don't go any more vertical than that. They don't do normal cat verticalness. They get about yay. Normally, they're just round as round. It took me a while to realize, hey, wait, his fucking eyes aren't vertical. That's why he's so adorable. But what I noticed, okay, here, let me show you. We have this cat toy I made. Okay. Weed eater string on a piece of, I think, floral wire or something. It might be a hanger, I don't know. It's a piece of fucking metal wrapped in green rubber. So, Since I have the cat on my lap, let me use my wand to... It's a horrible abuse of a priceless magical artifact. Anyway. That's how Merlin gets to use Merlin's wand. So we do this thing, right? And I'll have it all over the place. And look, he's got an astonishing ability to catch it while it's in transit. Damn it. That wasn't a good example, but as you can see, he's got the fucker. He always knows right when to pounce, is what I'm trying to say. But he's like, you know, there's sometimes when you know that the cat isn't gonna get it, you know, and then will kind of surprise you by getting it. Well, he does that shit all the time, and I think it's because of the way his eyes are. Them round eyes. Show us your round eyes. Do I have a... I wonder if I even have a thing on here. Do I have a thing on here? There we go. Look, you. Show him your eyes. Show him your roundy, brightened eyes. Come on. Well, that doesn't work very well, does it? See, look, they're just a little bit slitted now with the light in his face. They're like halfway between round and slitted. With the light in his face, they get that like an almond slit instead of a straight vertical slit. But while he's indoors during the day, see if I can get it without the... Here, come face this light so they could just look at that. Next to another cat, it's like more apparent. Now, mountain lions and some smaller cats up north, or like mountain dwelling, like multi-terrain type wildcats will have round eyes. You might notice like a big cat, like a lion, actually has round eyes instead of slitted eyes. Your wood-dwelling predators and your house cats normally have very, very vertical eyes. That, you can't even call him a tomcat, that weird bobcat hybrid, the male, during the day, eyes tiny as fuck, round little dots. I'm pretty sure that's his father. The thing is, to the best of my knowledge, bobcats and lynx, I'm not sure about black panthers, but bobcats and lynx have vertical eyes. You know, and that's usually the smaller wildcat that might breed with a domestic sized cat. So that's what has me left theorizing. Was there some kind of wild cat here in this hilly area? And this is a hilly area of Louisiana, by the way. We live on the flat steppe of what starts as like a little, like not a mountain ridge or anything, but like a fucking damn hilly area. You wouldn't expect it to be in the middle of Louisiana, but there it fucking is. You drive about 15 minutes north of here, and you're going like this, just fucking over and over again. It's not about more than like maybe a few hundred, maybe upwards on 700 or so feet of elevation change. I couldn't see it being more than 1,000 feet. But you're going up and down in these hilly areas around here, and I'm pretty sure they're all caused by the salt doming. I need to look at a fucking terrain map again. But there's a series of salt domes formed by the old fault that's kind of underneath the Mississippi River. And right here, we're in an area where the Mississippi River might have used to have been millions of years ago or whatever, right? So it's possible there's some multi-terrain, round-eyed wild cat that used to live around here that has since been reduced probably to 1/4 of the population of stray cats. There are coyotes around here and the occasional brown bear. Lots of coyotes. And, wow, there is that one unaccounted for animal that was silent as the fuck. There are some important things, like the profound stuff that I'm supposed to be talking about. I'm going to get to that. Regarding macroeconomic and macro-informational strategies. And skewed perception and what it means to be blind versus being able to see. But first I want to talk about that weird fucking thing that was in the backyard, alright? Because maybe that was this unidentified animal that I'm hypothesizing should exist. Okay, because, again, big fucking cats, round eyes. There's one, I think it's in Russia actually, that lives in the snow. Really furry fucking cat, has round eyes. But most bobcats and shit, slitted as fuck. And this cat, like you put the light on him, it gets like almond shaped, right? But I'm telling you, in equal light, okay, I have two cats in here, so him and Misha next to each other. Misha's will be like this, and his will be like that, like his is like halfway between, right? So, that reminds me of this little incident. In the backyard. When I was prepping the little makeshift temple canopy thing for the wedding, And if you're not familiar, basically I built a chapel in my backyard. Um, it was rather geometric and lovely, made out of wooden posts, a wedding arch that I built, and a bunch of those big tan canopies, those big canvas canopies that you can buy like for shading outside. And I kind of jerry-rigged the system and pulled them all up on the middle of that wedding arch and secured it, and had like an elongated pyramid-shaped wedding chapel. So, if you look right there, you see you got a bunch of swords on a stand. Well, you can go lay down, baby. The two long ones are Tsurino Shirayuki and Zangetsu from Bleach. They were given to me by my friend Brian as like a wedding present. So the two lines that I used to pull everything, I had to secure those back behind the chapel. So I used those swords, stuck them in the ground like pikes, right? It looked pretty cool, I think. It made my inner geek happy, right? So when I finally got done with that, my plan was to spend the night at the altar praying, which I wound up doing. Once I got everything done, it was quite a rush. Struggling against my freaking back, which was like severely going out on me. But anyways, I'm out there. Might have been 2 o'clock in the morning. And, I have, backyard is just about 40 feet of cut grass. And then there's overgrown brush and about a mile of woods. And the altar was all the way against the overgrown brush, all the way out there by the woods on the other side, Had to use the space I had. And I forgot exactly what I was doing, but I knew I had to be out there for a while. And I just finished doing something. I think it was fixing the sword pikes in the ground. And I heard something in the brush. I froze just to hear better. And I heard it again. And it was coming towards me. My sword was sitting on a little table. I reached over, grabbed it. I heard it again. It's like in the brush coming towards me. As soon as I heard that shit again, just chopped right through the brushes, just like that. heard it still coming towards me. So I took another swing at the brush right there. And that fucker's still coming towards me. So I backed up a little bit. Put my leg out like this. Right. Figure some kind of cat or something. Coyote. Chupacabra. Give it some bait. Comes in. Right? It just kept kind of inching towards me. But it wouldn't come out. And finally I just got frustrated and started screaming and fucking hacking at the brush to try to scare it off. Yeah, did I mention I don't do the fancy, oh, let me find the guard so I can put it in the thing. I just usually put it in the thing. Like, it just ruins it to me. I see people do impressive shit, and then they go like this. Why? Can't you just find your fucking sheath? Oh, I'm sitting there looking at the damn... Okay. Let me actually swing the sword out and do it dead on. I can get it. If you can't do that, it's not your sword. You know what I mean? Like... a long time ago, you know, back when shit made sense to me, you would find it suspicious if someone wasn't able to just sheathe their sword in a manner that didn't seem, you know, like risky to an amateur. If it's your sword, you should know the weight of it perfectly. And you shouldn't have to rub it against your hand to get it in its sheath. But, you know, whatever. Now we confuse Chinese opera and acrobatic stunts with fighting. Me, I have some simple rules about fighting. One of them I consider very important. Don't let your head go above your ass. Not unless you're in a desperate situation. There should be no other alternative. Because, man, I gotta watch some pretty good UFC fighting to not just cringe with, like, how could people watch that and mistake that for something that could actually happen in a combat scenario? Oh, but then you see that one guy. Oh, wait. Speaking of flipping and exposing your back. I don't know his name. It's an old clip. Probably find it on YouTube. This guy tries to do a forward flipping heel kick. And he's like kind of short and round. So he's surprisingly good at flipping, but not very good at the kicking. And he just flips a few times, and then the guy knocks him out. And I'm just thinking, now there's an example of where the UFC rules are unfairly protecting someone. Because, you know, you're not supposed to kick somebody when they're down. If they start flipping at you, you should be able to kick them. You know, right in that fucking exposed spine that they're stupid enough to... that makes me feel my fucking spinal injury just thinking of how stupid that is. Let's flip forward at somebody. Oh, I just pop in there with a toe. Fuck that guy's whole next fucking 10 years up. Or in my case, 20. But see, I didn't carelessly expose my back to somebody. I was fighting a crowd of 30 fucking people. Guess how many times I hit the ground? 0, son! They took my fucking skateboard, and at least 3 of them swung it at me. 2 of them actually hit me dead in the middle of the fucking spine with the truck. But none of them, after the first 5 or 6 exchanges, okay, none of them would approach me from the front. Give you an idea of the speed of my kicks at that point in my life. I basically had known people to get shot right in the face in my neighborhood. So I had practiced kicking guns. Okay. And then I moved to the New Orleans area from Houston. And the people I found there didn't impress me. Let me just say that. Now, I have never, I'm not sitting there saying I can kick a fucking gun away before somebody can shoot it. Okay. I'm just saying that's what I practiced. To give you an idea of what my objective was as far as the speed of my fucking feet goes. Now back then, I probably would have tried it if put in the right scenario. Today, not so much. I'm still pretty damn quick with my feet, but not as quick as I used to be, you know? But went to New Orleans, made friends with this kid named Jason Guillory. Okay. Still friends with him, actually, I think. Found him on Facebook, shot the shit with him for a little bit. Hung out with him a lot when I was that age. Me and him was skateboarding through Souser Park in Kenner. If you say Souser Park back in the day, like, the fuck were y'all doing out there? Well, there was this little park on the north side of West Metairie that should be considered safe, but there was a bunch of white kids who thought they were black. I mean, more starter caps than you could count, man. And apparently, just us skateboarding through there was enough to horribly offend them. Yeah, I know. Just the fact that we were skateboarding. And they wanted to jump us. Jason took the fuck off. Me, I'm like, who the fuck do all you kids think you are? I can't run from people that are shorter than me. I'm taller than just about everyone, so, yeah. I wound up fighting these fuckers to a fucking draw. You know, what was I going to do? Knock them all out, you know? Like, I could defend myself, but I couldn't exactly make any fucking headway there. I didn't have the strength back when I was 12, you know? But they're all, you know, after the first few fucking exchanges, yeah, if you come up to my hands, that's going to be horribly disappointing for you, okay? Um, let's just say Steven Seagal never fucking impressed me, okay? But once I got enough distance to use my feet, just anybody fucking approaching me just got it right there. Get back. And I could just pop, 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 pop. I still to this day pretty much stay on one foot and just kick indefinitely. Although, like I said, I'm getting old. I'm not always awake. But I always stay in just good enough shape to where my adrenaline could carry me the rest of the way. Push came to shove, you know. So, this fight kind of crossed the street from the park into the row of houses that was across from it. Because, well, Jason had taken off down that way, and I was just kind of making my way that way. And I wound up realizing, well, I'm not going to get away from these fuckers. So I just kind of made my way towards one of the front doors of the houses and walked the fuck inside. And there was an old man, and I think either his wife or his daughter or some older lady there, but like a really old man with a fucking shotgun standing there. We've already called the police. Don't worry, son. We're going to give you a ride home. You're safe now. I'm like, oh, okay. I felt like saying I could have took him, but I didn't. Did not so much as fucking go on one knee during that whole exchange, though. And from that day forward, it was difficult for me to take shit, as it were, right? Like, wait, what? Excuse me. You are aware that there's less than 30 of you. Anyway. So, chupacabras and big crowds of wiggers and the occasional ancient demon. Had an interesting life. This time. Although I suppose everything's relative. all in all, from a human perspective, this life, to me, the life that I've had, would be a lot to whine about. Might even seem downright unfair. But there's this, saying that I've been saying has been misunderstood. To be born again, to live in Christ. Even just simply to be born again. But in context, and the reason for its misinterpretation, I suppose. It's to be born again, to gain eternal life, to have salvation, to know peace, to be with God, to sit at the hand of God. Well, these are all very pleasant sounding metaphors, but what do they actually mean? Well, when I think of some of the lives I've had before, the entire populations of cities I've seen slaughtered, and men I've killed, friends I've lost, even been forced to knowingly sacrifice. People I don't know if I'll ever see again. Don't know if I'd know if I saw them again. And there goes the battery on the phone. No, cat, you cannot play with the charger. Okay. But anyways, thinking of not even just what I had to go through, what I had to see other people go through, what I know they went through back then, but also just what the world, what people in general had to endure. Life on a daily basis was so much more terrifying, but meaningful at the same time. But at the same time, meaningless. Because meaning could have no meaning in an instant. Go to sleep one night, wake up to your village burning. $3,000 people either dead or homeless. Just because we didn't evacuate quick enough. Because they were in the way. Because they knew something. Somebody there saw something. You might be hiding prophets. You might be hiding a Cirrus. Huh, they don't have Cirruses anymore, do they? No, not so much. You got old crones with crystal balls. A lot of good that does you. Ah, this coffee isn't doing me much good. I think I need some more of it. I'm gonna have to make arrangements. Patience is a virtue. This hair of mine, not so much. But at least it's kind of like balancing out. See, it's like, I want to be a little goatee on top. Maybe if I was like on the Exorcist movie, it could amount to some form of propulsion. Oh, never mind. Oh yeah, that's better. Oh yeah, much better, much better. Speaking of oddly brilliant segues, there was a profound realization that I think the Catholic Church might want to be aware of regarding demon possession. But that's going to have to it's going to have to wait until I get more coffee. I need this kitten off of me. Come on, kitten. There you go. Lay on the camera, kitten. There you go. Just lay right there. Oh, no, you're crawling back on my lap already. Okay. All right, so. I will explain after the coffee. And then I will go into some of what I was meaning to talk about as far as the intended subjects of the video. But this thing with demon possession in the Catholic Church, what I think they need to know about it is that the demons they've been exorcising for the past, I don't know, decades, they're not actually demons. At least, not the kind of demons that should be targeted. They're more like hollow souls. That is to say, souls whose torment is basically the responsibility of the Catholic Church to begin with. And they are basically now being used as pawns of distraction. And they are being paid for having been tortured with more torture because of the Catholic Church's inability to perform a proper exorcism. It's kind of tragic. Just like this empty-ass cup of coffee.
Die to ourselves, so we shall be able to rejoice in your love.
Create for me a clean cup, oh God. Let me pour lots of coffee into it. Waiting on the Keurig. Got an old pot of cold coffee that I didn't get woken up for, because apparently I wouldn't wake up. Apparently I'd finally actually reached REM sleep. Hardly ever happens. But, so I don't waste the cold coffee. I got my giant coffee cup, right? Put like a third of the cold coffee in there, and then just make a Keurig on the large setting, and that warms it up just right. I know, it's fascinating, isn't it? Shut the fuck up. Why don't you shut up and talk some more of that fancy Jesus stuff? Man, legal has paid off. Today, I was a good little housewife. There was a hell of a weekend, okay? I had a sleepover over here with one of the girls, and the other girl was over at freaking Horse Ranch. Got to ride horses and everything. So we had two teenagers just making a mess, fucking making cookies and banana pudding and all kinds of just dishes piling up. Okay, just, and then we'd already made a turkey because we got a turkey from the food bank. We didn't have room in our freezer, so we just made the fucking turkey. And it was like sloppy Joe meat on a pan that just got put underneath other stuff. Because, you know, people can't just wash dishes before they start cooking. No, they just go and grab clean dishes out of the cabinets and just pile shit on top of shit on top of shit. So I went in there this morning and I was rallying the troops. And I was grabbing all the nastiest, hardest shit and washing it for them, while I asked them to do other things. Like, prepare this area for me to vacuum. No, don't. Didn't ask them to do it themselves. Because then I would spend 5 times more energy yelling at them to stop whining about it. Oh, God. So yeah, what you saw earlier with, like, you know, that leaf and whatever the hell that is, some sort of seed of something, like a sunflower seed. What is that? A piece of straw. That is my freshly vacuumed carpet. Eh. By midday tomorrow, it'll just be completely unnoticeable that anything got done. And then I'll sit there and whine about it in my head for the rest of the day and not do anything. And then the next day I'll vacuum. I'm not vacuuming 2 days in a row. I refuse. Just sit there and dust the hair off my feet when I try to sit on the couch. Anyways. So I managed to get to sleep around, holy crap, it was like 3 or 4 o'clock. I slept 8 hours. Oh my God. Look at me. Sleeping and shit. I woke up expecting for nothing else to get done. To my very much pleasant surprise, I can see floor in the hallway, and even in the kids' bedrooms. Floor. And get this, I don't know if I'm just being delusional, whether I'm hallucinating, but it looks It's like the floor was vacuumed. I know. Just calm down. It's gonna be okay. Reality is not collapsing. The rest of the dishes actually got done. The stove. Oh my God. The stove. It's been wiped clean. Too dramatic? Maybe? No. That was an exact appropriate level of dramatism. The very idea that I said, okay, I'm going to sleep. At 4:50, this alarm's gonna go off, and y'all need to do this, and this before your mama gets home. And I think they actually fucking did it. Shouldn't, like, Trump give me the Presidential Medal of Freedom or something now? Like, anyways. How did the kitten get back on my lap? Fucking shit. Yeah. He's so adorable, it genuinely pisses me off. It's like, you little fucker. I have no choice but to love you and take care of you. I have no choice. You force me to love you and take care of you by being so fucking cute. Bastard. Humans could learn a thing or two. I'm kidding. I kid. Which apparently is a verb that is described as the act of impersonating a baby goat. I think. I might be a little confused on that. Anyways. So, at present, the sword is the camera stand. Is that an abuse of power? Maybe. Speaking of abuse of power, what was it all over the news tonight? Apparently, Don McGahn, the former White House counsel that's cooperating with the Mueller probe, apparently he or somebody familiar with the interview or the information that he's provided has disclosed to what news agency? Was it the New York Times? Let's see here. I'll look at the history like a smart person. I don't have the source. Okay. TV from here because my fucking remote doesn't work.
Hey everybody.
Oh, good,
It's
a
the
Honda
Grinch.
commercial.
Again.
The Grinch. Yay, Grinch. Okay.
This is truly a bombshell. President Donald Trump tried to order the Justice Department to prosecute not one but
What's the
two
source?
of his biggest adversaries, Hillary Clinton and James Comey. This story breaking in the New York Times.
New York
Late
Times. Okay. There we go. Michael Schmidt and Maggie Haberman. Not an op-ed. This is more than likely just mixed testimony, but chances are some leaked documents have been seen to verify before Haberman would sign off on it. I really thought in civics class that even the people who failed, if anybody could fail civics, I mean, I don't really know how you fail civics, but I just assume had to be somebody, right? But I would think even people who failed fucking civics class would know that it is just fucking un-American and defies all civil decency to have an executive mandating prosecution at all. Okay? But especially against A, a political opponent, and B, a witness to his crimes. At that point, you pass the line of the technical difference between a president, that is a presiding elected officer, and a dictator, a despot, a tyrant. You know, those things that people accused Obama of for what? Nothing. Oh, wait. For protecting forests. That's right. That's it. That's the only actual legitimate complaint that they could really fucking make. And he didn't do it that much. He didn't do it as much as, say, the Bernie babies would have liked him to. Obama didn't go after our national security apparatus. He didn't neuter our defense capabilities. In fact, we would be easily overrunnable had he either done that or just kicked the can down the road. But Obama actually oversaw the implementation of several advanced strike units and the refit of all of our aircraft carriers. While failing to do what he was orchestrated to do, which was essentially provoke Russia into invading probably all the way just past Moldova. Okay. That was their plan. They were trying to provoke him into giving them the excuse to do so by deploying American troops in Ukraine or overtly arming the Ukrainians. Now, they've had this long pseudo debate about whether or not to arm Ukraine, but I reported in the Support Ukraine group early on, and I reported early on in the existence of the previous Lost Begotten channel. We've been helping them out for quite some time. Let's just say, even some of McCain's early and more specific suggestions stopped being made as suggestions for a reason. But, you know, just like the way if we had to go in Syria, we would find a bunch of Syrian Americans and maybe Syrian Canadians. Obama wasn't sitting on his fucking hands. You see, at the point, and it seems people who voted for Trump just don't realize this. People who were all, anti-Obama, a bunch of fucking traitors, didn't realize that they were being traitors by taking the side of Russian propaganda against the lawful and forthright actions of their own government. Okay. At the point where the little green men were showing up in Crimea, and all the way through, Russian troops shooting down the fucking MH17 airliner, okay? Russian troops sacking all the borders between East Ukraine and Russia. We had, as contracted by the Bush administration in 2006, a bunch of stuff. Stryker vehicles, logistics vehicles, mobile artillery, lots of good stuff. In Afghanistan, a former Soviet Socialist Republic. You know, because Soviet means white people, right? As per our agreement, all those pieces of equipment were to be moved by Russian railway back to Germany. So Obama, having to prepare for World War III, basically, that we were not seeing coming at all. None of our allies in Europe were seeing it coming. Nobody was seeing this coming. Putin's invading Ukraine. He's starting to try to use oil to blackmail Poland and Germany. And he's sending mercenaries to enhance the Islamic State. Okay. And sending fire trucks and like personally delivering fire trucks, and then continuing to send equipment and upgrades to the North Koreans. While some of our most advanced tactical equipment is loaded up on trains, slowly moving through Russia back to Europe. So Putin basically had our balls in one hand and a staple gun in the other. Okay? Meanwhile, on Fox News, the Obama administration is tyrannical because statistically there are more Republican political groups being investigated by the IRS. That equates to tyranny in the eyes of Tucker Carlson. Now, let me just say once again, I personally would make an exception to my rule of not fighting less than 3 people who are incapable of defending themselves against me, okay? I would fight Tucker Carlson like this. I would fight him just like this. And I'd want it on film. Okay. Sorry, I'm distracted by the happy thought now. But in the eyes of the Fox News viewer, them being a bunch of fucking corrupt tax cheats makes Obama a tyrant. They couldn't fathom for a second, even though basically the Republican platform is one of avoiding taxes. They couldn't fathom for a second, well, maybe your political action groups are actually doing more fucked up shit that would warrant investigations, huh? Well, you really think that there should just be an arbitrarily even number of investigations into groups like fucking, what was it, Dick Armey's fucking little freedom thing? Oh, you know, it's got freedom in the name. You shouldn't be allowed to investigate. It's got patriotic in the name. You shouldn't be allowed to investigate it, right? What the fuck are you talking about? They use these fake, fucking appealing, patriotic, generic sounding things to mask the fact that they're foreign propaganda. It turns out that a lot of these conservative groups to the IRS because they were taking money from Russians. You know, like the NRA. Huh. You know, there was this crazy guy who thought he was like Jesus or something like that, or John the Baptist, I don't know what. And he was on YouTube like 3 years ago, making the outrageous claim that Russia was involved with the National Rifle Association. You see, on the one hand, you have the train of thought that would otherwise be proper. that I was trying to remind people about why we had this balance in this country. Why the city liberals needed the gun happy rednecks. Why the fucking rednecks needed the city liberals. Why we all needed each other. Why we need to get along. And along this train of thought is the idea that the National Rifle Association was founded sort of as a backup plan to stop the Soviet Union from invading, arming the populace, if you will, right? But it is all too tactically correct for an adversary such as Russia, who primarily uses infiltration and deception, or active measures, to target exactly such an organization, especially considering the civil war history of this country. And to cause such a group to not want to fight them anymore. In fact, they could tailor their entire public image around convincing these people to not want to fight them anymore. And get them to fight their own government. Lacey! Good to see you, honey. How you been? You aight? Not sure about the whole Sean ... thing. Oh. Yeah, I hear you. All I can tell you is that any of y'all who want to move to this area, I can't guarantee you'll find a job. I can't I can't promise you that I'll be able to help you out financially, but I can promise you a network of support. We've got a lot of friends established at this point who give each other rides and take each other's kids to hospitals, and we have a village. We have a village. And then, as far as anyone who wants to try to come and make it out in this area, the college area, LSU, has lots of rooms for rent. What they have is basically a whole bunch of 2-bedroom townhomes, and it'll be 2 different kids renting it, and one will leave and another one will put an ad up for the room they left. And that's how I went from homelessness to getting back on my feet, was by renting one of those rooms. You can get them for like $400 a month, utilities included. Sometimes. Depends on, the timing, what's available. There's some that are furnished and everything, that are rooms in the backs of people's houses in the nicer areas for $300 a week and shit, It varies. But that's what it is. It's LSU is one of the nicer schools in the South, and certainly carries a lot of weight as far as the pride goes here in Louisiana. The Tigers and the football team. So, as far as starting your life over again, I don't know in other states what comparable area there is to this, but it's the state capital, so there's a lot of public health type places down there. most centered around kicking addiction, but a lot centered around helping abused women. Okay. There actually is a women's program that you can go that will house you at the Salvation Army. They let men sleep in another building at night only, and then they kick them out at 7 o'clock the next morning. But there's like a whole different separate facility for women there. It's like a 6 months program. And then they help you with housing and shit. I don't even know if that's going on anymore. That was there when I was homeless. But then there was Bobby Jindal, and now there's Trump, and who knows what the hell kind of funding is left for anything anymore. But regardless of that, there's still the public daytime health places downtown, and then just south of downtown is where all those college campus apartments are. And people just always renting rooms out there. So it seems like a pretty good area. If you can find an area like that closer to you, you know, might be a strategy worth considering. Like wherever there's a well-known state college in that state's capital, that's probably a good place for people to try to get back on their feet. Anyways. So what the hell were we talking about? We had tyrannical tyrants. Oh yes. Even I got caught up in the anti-American propaganda, and I've been saying that since day one. Okay, the reason why I know that y'all people, unless you've been a subscriber for a while, the new people, the reason why I know you're being bullshitted, it's because I was bullshitted too. And nobody knows just how deep the bullshit goes until they find a shovel. Do your comments appear? Carlos. I see that comment. Anyway. Something on your mind, Carlos? One of our other Latin American viewers I've just had enough of. Mental instability is fine. You know, everybody suffers from a degree of it, right? But at a certain point, I just have to assume that you're a troll who's fucking with me. Okay? And otherwise, just couldn't possibly be ready for my level of wisdom, which, you know, is kind of disappointing because I don't feel as though my explanations are that lacking. You know, I don't think I'm that hard to follow. But the bar is set where it's set. But anyways, It's like this one guy will go from like talking a bunch of nonsense that I don't really know about or care about, as if I was on the same page as he was. And then he'll be accusing me of being like Hillary Illuminati, brainwashed Satanist, propagandist, something rather. I don't. All I know is that if George Soros or Hillary Clinton or somebody like that hired propagandists, surely I would not be so strapped for cash. Oh, that sucks. I'm not ready to open that yet. Boy. I'm gonna have to get more cigarettes tomorrow, and I don't know if I can afford them. Oh, yay, Thanksgiving. Where poor people get reminded of just how broke they really fucking are. I can't complain, though. As long as I'm doing better than a donated Hungry Man Thanksgiving. If you're not familiar with the Stouffer's Frozen Dinner series, Hungry Man. If you hit rock bottom and Thanksgiving rolls around and you find yourself craving a turkey dinner, they have provided probably the single most depressing packaged product there is. A TV dinner, Thanksgiving dinner for one. Oh. And I remember just thinking it was art when I opened up my freezer and I brought home my Thanksgiving TV dinner, stuck it in my freezer, and it was the only thing in there. Sitting there all by itself. I took a picture. I think I still have the picture somewhere. I think it's on my MySpace. You can find MySpace Nothin. A picture of my Hungry Man Thanksgiving dinner in my empty fucking freezer. And I just put it online for all of my rich family to see. Just to thank them for being so compassionate. Anyway. But see, this lifetime, fucking walk in the park. A couple Thanksgivings later, I didn't even have a damn TV dinner. All I had was the growls in my stomach and the stars to look up at. my phone was charged. Had enough gas in my car to make it to about noon the next day. Had about $7 in my wallet. Couldn't quite decide what to do with it. Maybe it was $3 or $4. I don't know. I'm being optimistic. Let's say it was 7. But man, my phone was charged. And I've had the same damn phone number since 1998. And that's on about 1,000,001 GetARealComputer.com business cards. And I know every damn member of my family had at least one of those cards. I got 3 older sisters. My dad's got 4 brothers. My mom's got 3 brothers and a sister. I got a lot of cousins. All of them make between $50,000 and $250,000 a year. All of them own houses. None of them got thrown in the fucking ghetto when they were 9 years old. But for some reason, they don't give a fuck about me. Didn't even want to hear about my damn problems.
No.
It took one of my mom's boyfriend's kids and their little gang pulling handguns on me in my own fucking living room. That incident in which I unbuttoned my shirt to make sure that they didn't fucking get it bloody. Said, if you're ready to go to jail, you can go ahead and fucking shoot me, motherfucker. I'm not afraid to die. I'm fully prepared to die. In fact, you might be doing me a favor. Would you be doing yourself any fucking favors right now? Cocked, locked, and loaded, okay? Point blank. And these are fucking bandana, tattooed up fucking teardrop gangsters, okay? I complained about it to my mama, and she screamed at me for that shit. I don't even remember what the fuck she said. My ass packed a fucking duffel and left. And as a matter of fact, that night in the French Quarter on the moonwalk, "15 years old, I think, I fell asleep in a certain tree with that leather jacket on, That tree was rather comfortable. I woke up in the middle of the night and found this. And you all know what that is. I don't remember the son's name. I remember his dad's name was Benny. And the gang that they were, they weren't in a gang. They like were the gang. Like that was all of them. Like 5 fucking guys. It was started by the father and his friends. And it was like a Native American oriented gang. It's kind of cool. They were called Tribe. That's it, just Tribe. Those were interesting times. That fucking house we had moved into was apparently someone he knew who went to fucking federal prison and was renting us the house through their family. And I don't really want to tell you this because I'm not sure whether or not half the people I've told this have fucking believed me. But when we first moved into this place, there was the bathroom that was attached to my sister's room had, you know, those little trays that kind of look like the lid of a toilet, but like they're designed to sit across a bathtub with the little metal legs stick, like the little metal legs that stick out the sides of them, but they're just like a tray like that, right? We got the little compartments in, and my mom used to have one that had like a mirror mounted in the middle of it, so she could, I don't know, do stuff while she was in the bath. I don't fucking know. But this thing was sitting on top of the back of the toilet, and it had like a little white plastic spatula, and I'm not really recalling what all parts of several syringes and a shift's worth of sawdust of some white powdery substance. I mean, just piled up in the little cubbies on this tray. Just piled up. Like it wasn't no fucking thing. Like piled up on this tray. I don't know whether it was heroin or cocaine, but it was probably one of the two. That was in the bathroom. You know, when we rented this fucking house from this guy who's in fucking prison. Me and my sister found that shit and was like, is that shit from Pulp Fiction? I forgot what joke I made, but I'm sure it was something Pulp Fiction related. That was around the time, you know. Fucking 16, 15 years old. And then I'm not sure which closet it was. I think I think I was looking for weed in my mom's closet. After we had moved in, okay. And there was one of these little, like, pieces of paneling that pushes through, like one of them little cubby holes you might find in a closet. It's got like the little wood bordering around it. It's just a little thin piece of wood, and you push it, and you can, like, usually a kid can crawl through there pretty easy, or like an adult can squeeze in there. It'll be attic access of some sort, right? Well, I opened that shit up, and I was trying to find my mom's weed. I want to go get a Ziploc bag and fill it so I can show you what I found. But I learned something that day. I learned something. I was, despite my completion of the DARE program, there was a limit on my knowledge of narcotics. Oh yes. And that was all cleared up to me that day. Here we go. That's about right. There we go. See that bag right there? Okay. Actually, couldn't be more perfect. Because what was in there kind of looked like that. Kind of looked like that right there. If I could simulate. Just break off just the right piece. Like that. Only a little thicker. Kind of roundish on one side. It was pure Peruvian flake. Unprocessed cocaine. That much of it. I'm talking fat. It took me a lot of thinking to figure out what it was. I had to picture it actually like, okay, that's the sweat on the leaf. They done harvested a bunch of that shit and then bagged it up. Because I seen the little documentary from down there in Colombia that they had on the Discovery Channel, like how they, harvest the shit out there. But I had no idea it ever made it to America in bags. Now again, the DARE program was enough to make me not want to do cocaine, okay? But on top of that, just the whole idea of snorting shit, that's not my cup of tea, okay? And I wasn't trying to get involved with that. I had to make up a story to tell my mom about it, because I was in her closet looking for her weed. I was looking for your weed, Mom, and I found this big bag of cocaine. No, that wouldn't go over too well. So, I forgot why, or even if we said it was in her fucking closet, or whether or not we just said it was in another closet, right? I think I might have said it was in my closet, and then added, so we should probably check all the closets just to make sure that her closet got checked for more fucking shit, right? I was a good bullshitter back when I was willing to bullshit people. I'll still do so for necessity, but yeah, let's just say it's an untapped talent. Well, I don't. I'm pretty sure she never called the cops. I'm pretty sure. I think my sister had to tell me, like months or years later, when I went up talking to her again, who lived there with him. Um, because uh, she was informing me. It was kind of like an on-topic discussion. She was informing that my, she was informing me that my mom uh, was in jail. And that's what I thought of. But that wasn't it. In fact, nothing drug related at all. She had brought a loaded 38 into the airport. Yeah, yeah. She brought a loaded fucking 38 fucking revolver. Handgun. Into New Orleans fuck international fuck airport. God rest her soul. And I think that's, my sister told me about that. So then I was like, oh, I thought it was going to be about that big bag of fucking cocaine we found. Because, I immediately told my sister about it. And she was like, no, nothing ever really happened with that. I guess she just sold it. Or Benny sold it. Benny was the kid that, or a guy, a fucking 21-year-old man, fucking pulled a gun on me in my own house. I'm fucking 15 years old. A third his size, if that. Don't remember his name. Remember the guy's name, Benny. Benny probably sold it. Really? They didn't think they should report that to the police? Like, what about all that heroin or whatever the fuck it was that was in your bathroom? No. Gave it to mom, just never heard nothing about it again. Charming. So that's the end of that story. Fucking moved into a house, found fucking 10 grand worth of narcotics. Mother disappeared, gang moved in. I moved out. Fell asleep in a tree, found a fucking stick that looked like a stick that I found in New Zealand. I picked it up, and it felt like the same stick. And I looked at it. It had 555, which right now, my neighbor has noticed that every time he comes over here, the numbers right here change. So I've been looking at them more often lately. It says right now 651. It was 827 last time. Oh, that's not gonna. Right there. In that hole. A little slot. Looks like 153 from my reflected view. And of course, there's the upper and lower pyramid. Aramaic Hyksos for first, and Aramaic Hyksos for Lightbringer. This is also means Nagash, or wise serpent. So it could be the devil's wand. Could be something older. As far as I know, this is a branch of Yggdrasil. The tree that bore me. But anyways, so yeah, since I'm being all biographical, I think that was the period that I went and stayed with my dad the second time. So that would have been when I made my screen name. That's interesting. I don't know whether or not I was in possession of my wand when I had made the screen name. Because I lived with my dad twice in a relatively short amount of time. Just a few months here, a couple years went by, a few months there. But I know I was living with my dad when I made my screen name. But I think it was the first time I lived with him. Anyways. So one of the immediate things that was horribly disappointing to me that, basically told me that I don't get to be human anymore. You just don't know what you have. Okay, you just don't know. In 2011, when I had met Maggie, and the fucking... Oh, look, I just happen to have my notebook from up on top of the shelf. Just happen to have it right here. And I realized that I was this because this had come down and covered the entire fucking sky. I'm talking, okay, this was that way, okay? And this was that way. It started with just two giant triangles that looked like the bottom of fucking like El Cash from SG1. Like, It looked like a Hatak was landing, all right? 2 giant pyramids. 3 sides. Just the base. I could only see the base, but I just, like, it had to have some kind of weight to it the way it fucking moved the clouds. But the pyramids came down, each having weight to them, right? But they came down overlapping each other. And just as I was perceiving how that far corner of that intersected the flat side of that and was making kind of like a Star of David, only those 2 points were barely overlapping. Then this Pontiac came and formed as this white, glowing mist sort of just appeared in the center. I mean, it was something that most people could probably mistake for a cloud. But I'd never seen anything like this in all my life. I'd never even imagined anything like this actually happening. And in the middle of the cloud, as this Pontiac kind of completed the whole thing, and I could see at 7 tips of it, amber glowing. And we had in previous days kind of identified this as the energy of an archangel. So I immediately interpreted those were 7 archangels encompassing this, holding this up, making this happen. Something is going on here, and there's 7 archangels around it. And in the cloud in the middle, this gray whale looking thing appeared. And some of y'all have seen the video I got of it 3 days later, right as it finally dissipated. 3 days later, after having stayed in the same place for those whole 3 days. At the point where it dissipated, it looked like a male and a female whale swimming together in the same exact spot on that video I showed y'all. So that, was fucking happening after I had performed an exorcism that had me thinking maybe I might be John the Baptist, and maybe I might have like a significant role in preparing the way for Christ to come back. Maybe. I seem to have just performed an exorcism which I thought was kind of beyond my caliber. And now I'm seeing the entire sky reform, and this is weird. And it got a whole lot weirder. Because out of this whale began to form an eye. And I immediately started thinking, of like Egyptian power eyes, you know? Whoa, a whale, that's an eye. That was profound enough. Could have left it there and I'd have been happy. Really happy. But then the eye, okay, just picture this as the eye, okay? Hold on, Lacey. The eye sort of kind of walked forward. This kind of faded upward. And this figure that walked forward was simultaneously joined by something that was already familiar to me. An upside down fairy. Okay, now I had had dreams that repeated way beyond my childhood. Basically, every time I was trying to look for my soulmate, of this lighthouse on a green shore cliff that's kind of like a palace of a lighthouse, okay? Like a fairy palace almost, right? And in this house, there's mirrors all over the wall, all over the ceiling, everything. Vaulted ceilings. And only through the mirrors can I see this fairy that I think is the girl from my childhood in New Zealand, right? And that's, you know, I've been searching for my soulmate my whole life. And that's one of those dreams that kept me, every time I wanted to fucking give up and just have like normal human type relationships with people and, you know, keep myself guarded and stuff like that, I'd have that dream again, huh? And I'd have to learn to trust her again and jump through the fucking waterfall to my death but not die again. Just to be able to find the lighthouse where I could only see her through the fucking mirrors. Well, this figure kind of looked like that other figure. You know, the color of it, the weirdness of it, the bzzz, blurry energiness of it, okay? This is the eye. Kind of started like this. And the fairy wings were here. The fairy's head was here. Its mind was one with this being's mind. It was upside down. I know it's weird. But because of that, and because of the limp, the walk, I have a weird walk. I've had my walk made fun of by black kids in the ghetto because they think I'm trying too hard to be like one of them, right? I got kind of a gangsta walk. Well, this had the same walk. And because of that, and because of the fairy, and because of every overwhelming impression I was getting, I was very disappointed. And speaking of disappointing, I have to take a break right quick. I'll be right back. So, here, you hold the kitten. Kitten is just all up on the camera. All right. You walk like a ballerina. Lacey walks like a ballerina, ladies and gentlemen. Like, do you continually spin? Like just everywhere you go? Did you get dizzy after a while? You ever get asked to leave while waiting in line for the bank, you know? Excuse me, ma'am. You're causing a disturbance. Please refrain from further pirouettes. So anyways, after this whole series of events, I remembered the only time that I had ever allowed a thought to actually enter my head, you know, and I had chalked it off to pure narcissism and just foolishness, right? Just a little moment of blasphemy, that's all. Write it off and move on with your fucking life. And I did. And that was when I created my screen name. I was, at the time, trying to figure out my soul's name, okay? And that's something, if you've had Wiccan friends, you might understand. And to the 3 people who just left, you're about to miss the irrefutable proof part. So, if you're stuck with lingering doubts and mockeries, just know that you've allowed those demons to win and control you. Because conveniently, you've managed to disengage right before the whole fucking point of the story was actually conveyed. Which is that when I made my screen name back in 1995-ish, I wanted my soul's name, so I was praying to God for my soul's name. Nothan, Noathan. And I wound up developing a lot of theories to explain the feeling that this name gave me. That the ancient energy that it seemed to conjure up, and the ancient energy that seemed to oppose it, and oppose me having it, and to want to mock me for thinking that I had it. Okay? Know then. Seemed innocuous enough. But for some reason, having been given a secret name by God, by having that as an answered prayer, just immediately a word, that I'd never heard before. It did not exist in any language that I knew of. I thought for a second, wait a minute, does that make me Jesus? I remember exactly where I was sitting in my dad's house at the time. And I immediately stopped myself. No. That's the dumbest fucking thought ever. But I couldn't quite push out the thought. So I said, wait a minute, God, need a little help here. God, this is you telling me this. First of all, I'll pass, if that's possible. But if this is you telling me and I'm the begotten, then this is supposed to be like a special moment or something, right? So there should be like some thing, some special thing to happen right now to christen this moment that I get my soul name, my secret name. Because if you expect me to believe this shit, here's what I'm gonna need. And at this time in my life, I was, half exorcist, half over intellectually wondering whether or not intellectuals were capable of faith. Because an active mind pursues doubt, right? So I immediately reverted the tone of my prayer type conversation based on the parameters of the terms that would have to be established if that was true. Okay, well, first of all, I'm just going to talk to you like you get me. And here's how this is going to go. Because that probably means that me being this much of a smartass is no coincidence. Right? Okay. Right now, this day, ho ho ho, do that thee thou then. Okay. Right now, if this is me, if I'm going to be the baby Jesus, here's what you got to do to convince me. Right now, there shall be a child born, named Nothan, spelled Noathan. But wait, that's not all. This is the direction I looked when I was praying, so that's the direction I looked when I'm having the conversation now. I was sitting on a similar couch, but actually no, it was a sectional, but I was kind of facing that way, looking up in that corner. The back door, like the kitchen was over on the other side of this wall, and the dining area was right there, and the back door was right there. The living room, the computer I had was over in that corner. My 486 DX233, or no, it was an XX33, and I upgraded it to a DX266. Yes. Remembering your 486 technology, that's useful. But anyways, I was facing that way on the couch, looking up that way. So when I'm looking up that way, that's me reliving the actuality of the experience. And I said, like, mockingly in infomercial format, but wait, there's more. So that's why I do it when I tell you all the story. I was feeling saucy. I'm like, first of all, no. Second of all, I'm halfway treating whatever this is like a demon because of my logical rejection of the idea. So I'm being kind of mocking, okay? So either I'm going to be disrespectful to you because you're a demon, or if this is really the voice of God or the Spirit of God trying to give me this knowledge, based upon the information contained therein, I shouldn't really have to hold back. So, but wait, there's more. If I'm the begotten, I want child to be born today with the name Nothan. But because I could still see myself considering that a coincidence in the future, and just because I'm a smartass, and because I feel like I should be able to make demands right now, I want his last name to be Cox. I wish I had another device handy so I could look up what I found that day in 2011 after the fucking Holy Temple came down and told me, hey, you're me. I'm like, but I don't want to be. But you're me. I'm like, but if I'm you and you're me, that means I'm that guy that everybody's waiting on to fix everything. And let me just tell you, no. And the most logical thing for me to think was I was having a fucking psychotic episode. I was having a mental fucking breakdown. I was delusional. When faced with the choices, either I'm delusional or I can fucking time travel, I'll choose delusional. Okay? When it comes to, am I delusional or am I an alien? I'll choose delusional. Simple to see. Simple for me to accept as logical. When it comes to, he's not the Messiah, he's a very naughty boy now, go away. I'll choose delusional. So I got on the internet. First thing I searched was the main part of my memories that were awakening was everybody that I know and love being slaughtered. And of just armies and burning and sulfur and ash. So I wanted to know, because basically the revelation that I had was that I was John the Baptist, and then I had the revelation that you're Christ, John the Baptist. Not something I'd ever really considered before, in many ways. You know, I was raised fucking Baptist, basically. You know, like Southern Baptist. First Baptist, actually. So I had to look up. Was there ever a group of people who thought that John the Baptist was Christ? Turns out, yeah. Sure were. Are all these memories of everyone I know being slaughtered and myself being, well, numerous attempts to kill me being made that really fucking hurt? Yeah, it turns out all the people who believed that John the Baptist was Christ also happened to believe that he married Mary Magdalene, or was meant to have done so. And they were all fucking slaughtered. So the revelation was confirmed by history. The memories that the revelation was just overwhelming me with, confirmed by history. But surely, if I searched on Facebook for a teenage boy named Nothan Cox, nothing will show up. Surely. And then I'll just have been awakened by some alien, and I was kind of confusing the impressions because of an innate narcissistic delusional psychosis that I suffer from. So I need to parse that from the revelation and then just take the revelation separately and not get my ego involved with that. Okay. Unless, of course, this kid Nothan Cox exists. In which case, fuck it. I mean, it's obviously something to consider. Could I have both been stricken with a profound revelation of truth by some ancient spiritual source that I had tapped into, or maybe aliens visiting me because they thought I was the right type of open mind or something like that, and then that being misinterpreted by me because of the very interesting life that I've had, right? The story's checking out. The hidden existence of the Horde is checking out. But whether or not I'm misinterpreting the data, as far as my own role in things, that can easily be determined by searching to see if there was someone born around 1995 with the name Nothan Cox. Noathan Cox. And now, there was one and only one person showed up. A little kid with a fucking high school baseball cap on. Cute kid. Normal looking American white boy. Probably went to church and everything. There he was. Nothan Cox. Just the right age. If you go back from 2011 to 95, you get about 14 years old. It's about how old this kid looked. Yeah, whatever. Hi. Now we're down to one person. Isn't that odd? Now, I haven't looked in all the times that I've told this story. I haven't looked again to see if he's still on Facebook. Or if he's been targeted in some way. But I would just assume that he's still on Facebook. And is probably in his early 20s by now. Right? But that's... proof of divine intervention confirming me directly asking God whether or not I was him. So what does that make me? Special. It makes me a fucking kitten lounge. That's what it makes me with my navel showing. Jesus Christ. Oh wait, no, that's not navel. That's kitten paw. No, wait, that is navel. Okay. I am a kitten lounge. Yes. That's all I'm good for. You see yourself? So, like, Lacey, am I logical in setting that as a postulate? Like, would that convince you? That was enough to convince me. Well, no, it really wasn't even still enough to convince me. But it certainly seems like the most logical thing that I can say proves to me who I am. But the fact of the matter is, there's electronic record, okay? There's electronic record of when I made my screen name. That coincides with the birth of a fucking human being that I had no connection to. There's a social security number and everything regarding that, you know? I'd never told that story. There's no way somebody trolling me set up this account. I never told the story. Hey, you know, one time I thought I was Jesus for a second while I was making my AOL screen name. No. No. That would be uncool, as it were. Then I'm just, you know, at that point having all these different profound revelations. Like, there should be these people here in this time of history, and then finding them, and then, why do I remember this shit? Oh yeah, I was there. But anyways. 2-hour broadcast already. How about that shit? And I still haven't even gotten to the original point that I wanted to make, which is something entirely grounded. You knew what the moment you saw Jupiter? I'm not following you, Lacey. See, afterward. My whole life afterward. I knew the moment I saw Jupiter. What? Oh. Yeah, Nothen means our prayer. If you extrapolate the Latin from it. No is our as a prefix. And then Athan is prayer. Like Athar, the goddess that you'd pray to. So in reference, would it be our prayer to the goddess? But Jupiter, he represents Zeus, which is a child of my creation, who's known as Saturn or Kronos, or Gabriel. And speaking of those terms, let's talk about Uranus. Oh. Urunas. 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 Okay? That's how that's pronounced. Like you're calling a bird. Urunas. But what people don't realize when they think of the planets and those ancient myths is that Urunas was the husband of Gaia and the father of Kronos. And it was one of the underbelieved legends. It was like a legend that people took not too seriously, but still was one of those, oh, they say that this might be the case, you know, that Urunas was Poseidon. And that was the reason for Zeus's war with Poseidon. But now it's just a planet way out there, a gas giant. Apparently it's where all the farts in the solar system settle. It's Uranus. Big fart cloud. Not like Neptune. No, the kitten requires scratching. Okay, let me scratch the kitten. But then, what's funny about this? You got Neptune and Uranus. Neptune and Uranus. They change orbits. Do you know that? Every 800 and something years or something like that. I don't know. So they're intermingled, right? Poseidon, Neptune, and Uranus, or the first one. But now, we don't know much about that. We know about the planet named Uranus. And we know about John the Baptist. And when it comes to the word John, we have some other uses that are related to Uranus. We have the porcelain god. It's a place where Uranus meets Neptune. The porcelain god, referred to as the John. And it wasn't because Patrick Stewart put a curse on toilets because of Prince John, the phony King of England. No. It's because God is an all-powerful smartass. John. Uranus. Toilets. Bow to the porcelain god. And promise you'll never drink again. And this time, you mean it. Oi, 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 oi. Kitten, kitten, kitten. Come on, kitten. Oh. Anyways. So, I need to get out of the storytelling frame of mind and get into the analytical frame of mind to do the final segment of this video. But unfortunately, I had to pee so much that I was unable to pee in one pee. So I have to pee again to let out the rest of the pee. It's the same pee, it's just like stage 2. Is that too much information? I told you I was Poseidon, right? I'll be right back. Use the restroom. Okay. Can't believe we were up to 5 people before the point. And they missed the point. Like, I don't know. Like, do people mistake that as something they need to take my fucking word for? A child was born with my screen name when I made my screen name. Okay? Did I successfully make an arrogant fuck face? What you think about that, bitches? You know what that means? That means whatever is in charge of souls and fates and names at least wants me to think what I think. That means that technically the government would only need to verify the data to realize I'm in charge here. Oh yeah, because that's what that means. Isn't it? Isn't it? It means the rules only exist and are only followed because they were written in my name. It means that the very ownership of the land you occupy exists because of the laws that were written in my name. Because when it comes down to it, this country and most royal principalities have in their founding documents language which dedicates their very existence, their very claim to the land and the very rights that they're claiming for themselves and to that land. By God. So what does that mean? That means that it's fortunate for you that I don't believe in taxation without representation either. But just to be a smartass, I thought I might point out that there is proof. And of course, more can be made available. of exactly who I am. You know? Proof. But you know, I said from the beginning, stay, stay. Oh, gee, thanks. There. That's much better. I said from the beginning, this isn't about me. I don't want it to be about me. It shouldn't have to be about me. Please, don't make it have to be about me. So much more of a pain in the ass than I could possibly see as my preference on how things pan out. But you see, I only need to be as legitimate as I need to be awake. It's for the same reasons. The only reason I need to be awake and aware of my own existence right now. It's the same reason why you need to be aware of it. Because your free will has been compromised. And when it comes down to it, if you've properly ascertained God's existence, that is the only issue that should require my interference. The only reason I would have to be ascended and sentient at the same time, consciously aware of who I am while I'm in this world. The only reason why I would have such an extensive map back to the underworld in my memories, so as to make myself fully aware at some point in this lifetime, would be as if this time was an ominous time. Not only requiring my presence, but requiring that I be aware of it. And this is highly significant as far as I'm concerned, as far as I'm aware. And it's because few times, in fact, I'd say never before in history, never before in history. Oh, it stayed that time. How about that? Never before in history has there been a dissemination of deception, an informational dissemination of deceit on the scale and with the effectiveness, either or, but now combined today. Now, when it comes to seeing how infiltration works, like, say for instance, the New York Times releasing stories by legitimate reporters timed in such a way to actually distract on the behalf of the Trump administration. Oh yeah, the New York Times. How could there be somebody at the New York Times going against basically the interest of the vast majority of employees and reporters and, of course, audience, and making sure that the little things that are basically innocuous but seem really fucking juicy, oh, confirming our suspicions about Trump obstructing justice, for instance, but actually covering for other things that should have been and were already on our minds. Just like the person who decided that on October 30th, just before the election, that they would withhold the story about the ongoing FBI investigation into Trump's contacts with Russia. And instead publish more shit about Hillary Clinton and her emails. Oh, but the New York Times is a liberal mouthpiece. Oh, then why the fuck they do that? They had the story. They withheld it. See, that's something that can be verified by the information that's timestamped that existed at the time. Just like it can be verified that when I made my screen name, some pregnant woman decided to name her child the same name. And she happened to have the last name Cox already by some twist of fate. Now that part being the little smartass addition that I made because I had a Rolling Stone magazine with Courtney Cox and I thought she was hot. That you have to take my word for. You don't have to take my word for the child being born when I made my screen name, because my screen name's creation is on record and the child's existence is on record. He made it as far as getting his own Facebook account. Anyways. Maybe it was the aliens. Maybe they set up the Facebook account. Yep. 2011 was an interesting time. When I went to what was left of chats at the time, and tried to announce myself and summarize the truth that I needed to make people aware of. starting with, you know, the whole John thing. I expected two responses to be 90% of the responses I got. I expected the two responses that made up most of the responses to be one, you're crazy, and two, that's blasphemy, and that no Christian should, you know, quote. So I expected atheists to have their atheist reaction, and I expected Christians to have a Christian reaction. But what I got instead was 30 or so people that said, no, actually, I'm Jesus. Russian troll after Russian troll. That was weird. I could, like, I don't know, almost sense like a demonic spirit in their word form. It's kind of the way you can sense a Russian troll now. I knew they were some kind of trolls. But that, right there, started to lead me towards realizing that they were Russian trolls. Because I was immediately curious as to who these fuckers are coming out of the woodwork. It seemed like Satanists, basically, had an overwhelming influence in the comments sections. Turns out that wasn't too far off. Now, let's see, how was I putting this earlier? To understand conspiracies these days, it's like trying to perform an exorcism on yourself. Speaking of exorcisms, I gotta blow my nose. Fuck it, nobody's watching anyways. Oh well. I sure hope people already know all this stuff. Patience is virtue. I mean, I don't expect everybody to watch all of the shit all the time, live. But if I was you, I would at least skip through and try to get the gist of everything I missed. But this right here is up there in the top 10 of importance as far as perspective and the ability to convey a perspective that can repair someone's perspective. And that's really important these days. So, somebody try to remind me of it early in a video if you think I should reiterate all this. But basically, I need more coffee. Oh, jeez. No, basically, there's nothing basic about it. Or basic, for that matter. Nothing basic. Nothing Bethel. We're in a situation where pointing out to people the actions of a foreign government is being confused with people being paranoid delusionals. Okay? Now, there is a difference here, people. You see, not only is there a difference between saying your own government is out to get you and saying a foreign government is out to get us. Okay, one is extremely unlikely and hyperbolic, and one is completely fucking rational. And it is naive to argue against. Okay? But then you have the situation that we actually find ourselves in which we've been propagandized in a way that either you are the type of person who is currently paranoid delusional against your own government, or you've heard enough of those fucking people, and you've had enough of those people. You've heard so much from those people that anything that sounds similar sounds exactly the same. So that the few people who might actually notice Russia was behind that propaganda that made these people go crazy, and Russia is behind a whole lot of other shit, you think that I sound like those fucking people, when in fact I sound nothing like them. Not talking about them, not talking on the same level of them. What I'm speaking of should not be compared in any way with what they're saying. Yet I just get mistaken for someone who's saying the same exact shit. Now let me just say one more time, because it should be obvious, but apparently I have to point it out. Not that any of the people who need to wake the fuck up and accept this are going to be watching this far in a video. But just in case, the reason why I'm able to see the danger that we're in is because of who I am. And that means none of you get to fight over who gets to take credit for saving the world. Because none of you could be trusted with that kind of responsibility should you be successful. Let's just say most people, if made king, it would go to their heads. Me, I know what it's like to lose mine. But anyways. Let's talk about, for instance, the mathematical calculations that go into determining whether or not an active measures campaign is effective. Okay. Now, based upon research that you can find in old documents from various Eastern societies, you can put this number at around 6 to 12%. Okay? So we just call it 6%. Because we're not talking about some of the things that they mention that can be accomplished at 12%. Right now, we need to be worried about, are the things going on that happened at the 6% level, okay? Which is, say, a given news agency, okay? All they need is 6% of the employees there in various positions, preferably some of influence, but not necessarily all. Either directly installed by or compromised by bribery or blackmail or a combination of the two by the FSB. By the Russian intelligence services. And you might get one person who's on the editing board, one person in the copy room, and one person in personnel. That's really all you need. And the same way, say, a Christian can recognize another Christian and should be able to recognize the works or words of another Christian. These people can recognize in other businesses, say like a marketing firm or a business that's trying to do advertising. Their fellow Satanists. Okay, because that's what it all boils down to. The Russian expansionist ideology is exactly the same as Satanism. Because in my opinion it is, but all you need to know is that they're the same. Not Satanism, the cheesy church. Satanism, the agenda of the devil. Okay. Now, if they recognize the satanic propensities, or not necessarily that somebody at a given marketing company, for instance, is a Russian agent, but that they might be effectively propagandized and are brainwashed and for all intents and purposes are on their side unknowingly. Submitting to them the commercial about the husband and the wife unable to get along and that being the status quo, or the friend betraying another friend to get something out of it, making a selfish choice over the right choice, and it being like a funny thing, and that's a commercial. Okay? These people recognize this. And this subtlety, combined with the sex and the violence, it's not coordinated, but it's still a web that everyone in the entire society gets tangled in one way or another. And all they needed was 3 people out of 50 . 3 people out of 50, and a few marketing companies, and a few news companies, and a few energy companies, and a few banks, and a few casting agencies, and a few studios. And a few branches of government, maybe. And now, oh, now we have the wonderful companies of Google and Facebook controlling most of the information we get. Okay. And you don't even have to be a marketing company or a news company or anything like that that's been 6% compromised. You can be just owned by Russians, owned by offshore people who happen to have Russian investment. Oh, and they're just, oh, well, we'll take your money. What do you want done? See, the 6% here and there would be a fucking problem. But what we got on our hands right now is a big fucking problem. And it's the reason why nobody on TV knows what the hell to do. Society has been broken on a foundational level. And then we've gone a stage beyond that now. And we desperately need to reverse course. Too bad nobody's watching. Good night. Don't forget to click the like button.